Hey guys, are you worried about inflation? Are you worried about where you're going to be going next year? Is that a concern? Are you worried about where your family's going to be at? What is it that we're supposed to believe? I want to cover that here in this podcast to really be able to help you focus on where you're at in 2023, what you need to be concerned about going into 2024 during this election cycle, and a little bit about the uncertainty. I think this is the key. One of the big things we talk about, or what we hear about really, and what we get questions on is, Troy, what about inflation? Are we in a recession? Are we going into a depression? Is there something I need to worry about? Well, let's take a peek at that right now. In somewhere around the middle of 2022, I think we hit the high of a 9% inflation rate. So since last year, this is now November of 2023, we have watched the inflation rate drop to 3.2% from 9%. That isn't a increase, that's a decrease. That's huge. When you go back my 59 years and you look back to 1964 to now, we've had an average annual inflation rate of 3.97%. And basically in 64, it was about 1.3%. Now it's at 3.2%. So we see this fluctuation. So I don't think there's anything there that you need to stress yourself about when it comes to inflation. Now, some of you may be saying, wait a minute. What about the cost of goods? We've seen fuel go up. We've seen food costs go up. Yes, we have to a certain degree, but even fuel costs have started to come down. You know, last year, even coming out of 20, we could see a cost of oil go to $100 a barrel, pop above it, pop a little bit low. Over the weekend, it was 78. It's been averaging somewhere around $80 to $85 a barrel post-COVID. So when you look at that, you start to realize, okay, even the cost of fuel is going down. We've gone from a high of almost $4. Some places was up to $6 a gallon. Now on the Emerald Coast, where I'm at, what we call locally the Redneck Riviera, we've seen the cost of gas go down to about $2.73. Might pop up to $3 depending on where you're at and what kind of gas that you're getting. But it's definitely dropped. Now, when you look at food cost, eggs and beef seem to be at the highest amount. So when you look at the fact we lost 10,000 head of cattle out in Kansas alone due to some virus. This doesn't happen all the time, but periodically it does happen. Conspiracy theorists say it was planned. I don't know any of that stuff. I know that I can go back through the history of cattle and see where this happens periodically. Eggs, we lost some processing plants. We've lost a boatload of chickens in those processing plants. That brought the cost of eggs up. But let me explain something. I get fresh eggs, organic, every couple of weeks from some local farmers. A couple that owns a small chicken ranch brings me in the eggs. I get free eggs. So guess what? My inflation is zero. So look at locally. Where are you at locally? Could your inflation rate be higher? Could certain products be? For sure it can. There's no doubt about that. But on average, we're looking at about 3.2%. This is a positive thing. It's still going down. May go up, may not. Now we're in the holiday season, so we're going to see lots of sales come in. Will it be as high as last year? Don't know. Some people said, Troy, what about the Phillips curve? Now, if you don't know what that is, that's usually where if we've got high inflation, then we'll have low unemployment. If we've got low inflation, a lot of times they'll say you have high unemployment. Well, right now we have low inflation and low unemployment. And a lot of them, they're saying, well, there's just no jobs for people, and that's what caused it, or they're still holding out on the stimulus. I don't think so. I think when you look at history, you start to see a shift in some things. Back in the 70s, early 80s, when we saw robotics come into play in the auto industry, they said, oh, this is going to revolutionize everything, but it's going to bring high unemployment in the auto industry. It didn't do that. Matter of fact, right now, the auto industry is booming and they're hiring new people. If you go back to the 50s, when tractor sales was at the height in the farm, in the agricultural industry, it said, oh, this is going to be awful because it's going to bring a shift in unemployment because a tractor can do the job of 50 people in the field. No, what happened is those people shifted to other careers, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing where AI has come into play, and they say, oh, it's going to create a big shift in the actual white-collar industry. Could it? Possibly, but you're still going to have hiring people. You're going to see people shift because industries shift. And one of the big ones we've seen right now is that corporations are eliminating jobs that are on the employment side and they're bringing them in as independent contractors. Amazon is one of these that really terminated a lot of their drivers, hired them back as independent contractors, now working for themselves, driving an Amazon truck. FedEx has done the same thing. The only one that I've found that hasn't done this of the big three is UPS, and that's because they're a unionized company. So we're seeing a shift in that. We also saw a lot of the fact that people have gone to a hybrid work time. They're not in the office. They're independent contractors, freelancers. They're working from home. I'm not talking about your affiliate marketers or your network marketers. I'm talking about people that work corporate type jobs, now working from home. Some of those are in marketing. Some of them are in collections. Some of them are in HR. So we're seeing a shift in this. I think the last statistic I saw, 50% of the American workforce, white collar, were what we call freelancers. They were side gig people. That's something that you've got to look at there. So I don't think it's something that you've got to worry about. What I think you need to focus on is what's best for you and your family. What is it that you can do for you and your family? Number one, drop your debt load. If you're carrying a high debt load on credit cards, get rid of that. Okay, I don't think right now if you've got a low interest rate on your house, keep it that way. Don't go out and refinance, but get rid of the high interest rates. You might be able to get a consolidation loan that might help you out there. I'd also start looking at the emergency fund. Put your money into some type of just savings account earning you 3, 4, 5%. Check out on what your investments are if you've got something from work, and just focus that forward. But don't be stressing out, oh, the sky is falling. None of that's taking place, okay? And there are some countries where you're going to see an increase in revenues coming out. As soon as this war's over in Ukraine, you'll see U.S. companies going in there and start to do reconstruction. You're going to be able to buy their stocks. You're going to be able to make some money there. So, hey, I hope that helps you guys out. The article, I'm putting in more content there. You're going to see more facts, more figures. Check out the article over at troydooley.com. We'll see y'all later.